At what point is a mini server rack no longer a mini server rack? Well, that's for you to decide and me to just show you what I created here. This is my mini home lab version 2, complete with a full unified networking setup, 3 little mini PCs in a Proxmox cluster, a full NAS with a 13700K build, a Raspberry Pi with a screen for monitoring, a 300 watt UPS, KVM over IP, and we have some surprises here on the back. It's pretty sweet. So yeah, right off the bat, this whole setup is made possible by the T2 from RackMade. If it looks familiar, I use the T1 that they introduced about a year or so ago in my first video. They also have the T0 if you want something even more compact, and I think even a TT now for even skinnier version. But yeah, links for everything will be down in the description. But this version is the biggest boy. It is 12U worth of space, retails for about $160, and yeah, like I mentioned, I don't know, I think we're encroaching on this being not so mini anymore, but this was all for fun. It was for me to build something cool, to utilize my 3D printing skills, which are pretty non-existent at this point, but I enjoy it. So how about we just take a tour? I'll show you what I built and you get to critique me down in the comment. You get to critique me down in the comments like you always do. So I guess we'll go ahead and start here at the top, that being the networking. So at the very top, you'll see we have a UniFi U6 Lite on a custom mount. I didn't create this, so you'll notice that half of the 3D printed stuff I created, half I didn't. The ones that are good are probably the ones that I didn't create, and the ones that are bad to mediocre are ones that I did create. But yeah, the U6 Lite sits on this custom mount. That's it. There's nothing special about it. I wanted Wi-Fi on the setup. This is what I went with. I was debating about doing one of those cool UFO mounts, but I ended up going with this because I think it looks cooler from the front side. On top here, it's not really connected. But this is a GLINet, what version is this? It's the Broom, I think. But this is for using it as a gateway, like with your phone. You can tie in the hotspot here and use that as a WAN to power the entire setup. But since I'm at home, I'm using my own WAN in the house. But keep this with you, easy to just plug and play. You'll get device or you'll get internet from your phone, feed that into here, you're good to go. Now the main gateway / router, I went with a UniFi Cloud Gateway Fiber. It's one of their newest models. It does 10 gig, really cool little device. I have a video on it if you want to go check it out. But one of the main reasons was because that it fits really nicely in this 1U 10-inch rack. And I stole the 3D print from Techno Tim, which I think he may have stole it from somebody else, but it works great. You can put it in this way, or if you want the little screen in the front, you can do it like that. I think this worked out a little bit better, but around the back, you can't see it now. Magic of B-roll, you'll be able to see it. I put in a 2.5 gig Flex Mini to give me more ports because the ports that are on the fiber aren't enough. So there we have a total of, I think, 8 clients that can be connected. Yeah, that's the whole networking setup. 3 unified devices, works great. If I want to use a VPN, I have the UniFi Teleport, or I can use site to site. If I bring this somewhere like a freaking turbo nerd, it'll just VPN back into my home network and we're good to go. So networking, not overly creative, not overly complex, but it gets the job done. Now I guess we'll go straight down. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Who cares? The next one you'll see are fans. So I have 3 40mm fans. These are really cheap fans. I honestly should have just went with Nocta ones. These aren't very good, but they were cheap and I didn't know if it would work or if I would break something. But I custom designed this little 3 fan setup. It's just a 1U with 3 holes and spot for the screws to go in. Nothing crazy, but those actually feed into a fan controller that's powered via USB-C. And I can physically control them with this little dial on the back. And the reason they're off right now is because when I turn them on, you can probably hear that on the mic. So if you can't, neat, but if you can, that's why. So I'm gonna turn them off. Pretty nifty though. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I do also have a fan here on the top that is pulling air up. So natural convection, hot air rises. This is only just helping all that hot air to come up and exhaust through the top. I've seen no issues with overheating on anything, so sure, it's great. Next up, we have this little setup, which I have mixed feelings on. So what this is, it is a 3-node, I guess physically, it's 3 of these GMK Tech mini PCs. They have N5105 chips in them, which are perfectly fine for little mini PCs. 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigabyte SSD in there. I think they're like $120, $130 each. They're all sitting here, they're all not doing the same thing. So the one on here, on this left side, is running Windows, and these two are running Proxmox. Why is it like that? I will get to that in a bit here. So these barely fit on this 10-inch rack, 3 of them, and I mean barely. So there's very little wiggle room between these. I had to print a custom shelf for these, and I'm talking like millimeters worth of space to fit 3 of them. And you'll notice if you look up here, I had to cut into the mount above here just a little bit because there may be a millimeter or 2 just too tall for a 1U spot. So if you're gonna do something like this, make sure there's a little space on the one above it. Yeah, overall it worked fine. Common theme too is that I printed all of this out of PLA. I'm a 3D printing noob, and apparently PETG is stronger and more heat resistant, which I probably should have done. I just bought some PETG to test this with. There is some maybe sagging, maybe due to heat, that we'll get to in a bit, but nothing has exploded, so that's good. Okay, just under that, you'll see 2 hard drives. Now this is another custom designed bracket here. There is a bit of sag from the side. I probably could have beefed it up a little bit. So maybe in V2, I give it a thicker floor to sit on here. But again, nothing's exploded. It's doing fine. I have 2, I think 8 terabyte hard drives in here that are the main storage for my NAS that we'll get to in a bit. Under that, this is the one I'm probably the most proud of. So all this is a Raspberry Pi 4B and a little 5-inch screen at, I think from CrowPi or something. But this Raspberry Pi, all it's really running right now is Home Assistant, and the HDMI from the Raspberry Pi is going directly to this screen. And I did design the full custom mount here. So I had to get out my calipers and measure exactly where the screw holes are on the screen. I actually had to cut off the bottom mounts because they would be too far for a 2U mount. So I had to cut those off, which is fine, because it kind of sits in a little friction based thingy that stops it from going backwards. Pretty neat. It is touchscreen. I don't have the touch part hooked up because there's no switches on there. But yeah, this runs Home Assistant, and it displays some information about the cluster, the power usage, which is driven from an Emporia Smart plug, some information from my TrueNAS system that we're about to get to, spoiler alert, and some information about the network. So yeah, I mean, pretty sweet. Now, DeskPi did send over this, which is a 2U 7.84 inch touchscreen monitor, a little super wide screen that goes in there. Jeff Geerling just did a video on it. I don't think I need to cover it as well. I already had this design, so I wanted to put something a bit more custom in there than slapping this in there, which probably works pretty great, but I'm too prideful. I wanted to use my custom setup, which I think is a little bit cooler. Under that, we have our size doesn't matter, right guys? Right fellas? Can I get a whoop whoop in the chat, right? But yeah, so this serves another purpose other than just being cringe. So under it, we have our ITX full system with an Intel 13700K and like, I think 32 gigs of RGB RAM, but it takes up 2U worth of space. So I needed a cover to hide all the stuff that's not pretty on there. So I figured put something on there, and why not put the power button as well? So I bought one of these like $8 PC power button switches that just runs directly to the board. And obviously that's what turns this system on and off. You'll see we also have some plugs up here in the front, and that's what drives the JetKVM down here. So this whole system can be accessed over the internet using the JetKVM. Now I did kind of steal this 3D printing model, but I combined it with this down here, which is a 5¼ inch Icy Dock 8-bay SSD. What do you call it? System? Mount? Device? Something? But yeah, this guy has some sag as well. I do have to redesign this because it's kind of tilting a little bit low. So that'll get redesigned. But this is what makes up my TrueNAS system. So this is just running Proxmox with the virtualized TrueNAS. So here I think we have 3 1 terabyte drives and 5 512 gigabyte SSDs, along with the 2 8 terabyte hard drives up here. Now the way I can connect all those is because on the PCIe slot in here, I have a PCIe to 6 SATA connector. So I have 4 on the actual board itself, and I have 6 here, which gives me a total of 10 drives. And if you can do math, 8 plus 2 is 10. So I literally have just enough connections to drive this, but I am only using 4 lanes. I could have technically got a beefier one, but I didn't need it. So in the future, I could probably upgrade to something. I don't know. In the future, I act like I'm gonna be upgrading this, but if I had to do it over, I'd probably do something a bit different. Then going down, the last thing we have down here is a 300 watt trip light UPS, which looks like it fits nicely in here. It doesn't fit through the front or back. You have to put it in an angle and then lay it flat. So if I wanted to take this out right now, I'd have to pull out like probably 1, 2, 3 U worth of stuff above it. So this is never coming out, I've decided. But yeah, it was only $100. And I think right now, this is the best option by far for if you're building something like this and want a UPS. Get this little trip light guy, it works fantastic. But like I mentioned, I was running a Proxmox system, and I said I'm running Windows on here and Proxmox on these two. And I've actually set up a cluster with the Proxmox that's running on my ITX board and the Proxmox that's running on these two, where this guy runs TrueNAS. One of these runs Jellyfin in an LXC container, and the other one runs a Docker instance. Now, it's not highly available because the TrueNAS system is what drives all the storage for these, and if this goes down, everything poops its pants. So technically I didn't set it up in HA mode, but it is nice where if this goes down, I can just migrate the VM over to something else. So, you know, it works. Now, why am I running Windows on this one though? Well, if we look at the back, I hope I can do this, we have more cool things to talk about. So I love this thing, by the way. I used this in my first video on my first build. It's like a little foldy keyboard with trackpad thing. Everything that I used in here will be linked down in the description, and I will be uploading all the STLs for everything I 3D printed here, good or bad. Feel free to take them, laugh at me behind my back, and then modify them to where they're much better. Go ahead. Again, I just got a 3D printer a couple months ago. I've been dabbling in it, having a great time. First step to being good at it is being really bad at it, so laugh away. So if you need a little Windows machine for something, you got one here. This is a 10-inch screen. Again, I used it on the last build, but I repurposed it, took off the feet. I designed a custom mount for this, which I think works pretty well. It does need to be adjusted to where this sticks out a bit more, but again, you know, it works. So yeah, I mean, the N5105 isn't gonna obviously play AAA titles, but if you want to play some like League of Legends on here in your spare time, turn your mini rack around and play some League. Do whatever you want, whatever Windows kind of thing you want to do, get spied on. But it works great. And at the very last minute, I didn't like not having any audio, so I bought these laptop USB-C speakers off Amazon. They were $16, $17. I expected them to be absolutely hot dog water, but honestly, they're pretty good. I was very shocked at how good these sound for how little they cost. Now, if you're wondering how they're mounted on there and what kind of fancy 3D printing I did, it's called, what do they call that technique? Double-sided tape? Yeah, double-sided tape is what I used. And I just taped it on there because I didn't feel like designing anything else, so works pretty well. But yeah, this sounds great. I recommend this for sure. I was blown away at how decent that sounds. But we're not done here. One of the last things is I printed this little shelf kind of thing because there were a lot of cables, a lot of power bricks that I needed to use. I couldn't get away from. I tried to, but the USB-C, USB power delivery unit down here couldn't drive all of my mini PCs, so I used the power bricks that came with it. Not essentially power bricks, or little wall warts with a cable. But all those sit in here along with the power delivery for the unified gateway. And it works pretty decently. I mean, compared to the cable management for my last setup, this is so much better. And down here, you can also see my little switch for the fans, or you can't see it. You can see it in B-roll. So there is some expandability possible with this. And I mean, that's the full setup. What I would use it for in real life, I'm not going to use this. This was a learning experience. It was totally for fun, and I had a fantastic time doing this. Now, is it perfect? No, absolutely not. Let's talk about what I did wrong and what I would change. Okay, what did I do wrong? I would say PLA. I guess that's not set in stone yet, but probably use something with a bit more structural rigidity. I don't know enough to tell you what exact material to use, but I probably would have gone with a more robust switch to add instead of the Flex Mini, because I am out of ports now. I've used all of them. I would probably do away with these little mini PCs. They're fine, but I probably would have put something a bit more fun in there, something more usable. Definitely redo the hard drive mount. It's sagging a good bit. Down here, possibly make better use out of this space right here with the Pi. I could probably fit 2 of them down there. Again, do I need 2 Pis? No, but if we're talking about being cool, 2 Pis is better than 1, right? Okay, the PC, this is where I think I'd make some more changes. The ITX setup here is pretty cool. I'd probably leave an ITX build in here. I would probably change what I do with the PCIe. I would probably make some space and put in a 1U or take up 2U and do some kind of PCIe expansion slot where I could slide in a GPU or a 100 gig NIC or something ridiculous in a 2U space. Kind of just design some type of mount to where I could just plug it in, you know? On the back, for the speakers, if I had some more time, I probably would have designed a custom mount for them, because actually I like the speakers. For some reason, that's one of my favorite things. I don't know why. They're 16 bucks. I bought them, duct taped them on here, or double-sided tape on here, and they sound great. I probably would have put another Axe effect, or as they're called now, Vero. Whatever Jeff from Craft Computing, whatever they call it now, because I have one running in my main rack and it works great to monitor temperatures, especially in Home Assistant. Because you'll see on the here, that the temperature I'm monitoring is just from the gateway. So it's not the actual temperature inside the rack itself. But again, looking at the front, you'll see we are pulling, what, 138 watts right now? Which, I mean, considering what we have in here isn't too bad. Clearly, you can go with a much more power efficient setup, but for a full ITX build, 3 mini PCs, 8 drives, a gateway, switch, access point, a couple of monitors, a Raspberry Pi, and not even power optimized, 138 watts really isn't bad. Yeah, I think that is it. Overall, I'm really happy with it. I honestly had an awesome time building this and designing it, and I really want to make another one. So I'm sure there will be a version 3 of this. Let me know down in the comments what you liked about it, what you'd like to see in version 3, and maybe I'll make it happen. But if you like this video, drop a like, subscribe if you want to see any more ridiculous stuff like this. I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube members and my Patreons. You guys are my 13U mini rack with all the cool stuff and professionally 3D printed mounts. You guys are the best. And if you're still watching, you're two missing fan screws. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.